Hold my wine, bitches! Playing 1-2-5 PLO, there's multiple limpers, and on the button I look down at the very pretty Ace King Queen 6 double suited in hearts and clubs. I come along, both blinds call, and we are going 7 ways to a flop. The flop falls Ace King 5 Rainbow, giving me top 2 pair, plus backdoor draws to Broadway, and 2 flushes. When it checks to me, I bet the pot of 35.
Oh no, not you. Alright, we get 1 caller. We got not you too. We got 2 callers. Alright, I need some help. I made a mistake.
We head to the turn 3 ways. The turn falls pretty safe in the deuce of diamonds. It's checked to me, and I despise my play here, which is a check it back. It's likely my opponents are drawing to Broadway, not that we're sticking around to try to hit the wheel. I absolutely should be continuing to fire on this turn card. Whatever the case, we head to the river, which is the 4 of spades. It's checked to me once again, and I don't believe I can get paid off by worse. I check it down, and fortunately my top 2 is good, but I definitely missed value and protection of my hand by not betting the turn. There's 1 caller and a raise to 20 by the hijack. On the button I look down at ace 10-3. Suited in clubs to my 10. I make the call. The small blind is missing this hand. The big blind, who is a bit of a calling station, makes the call. The limper calls, and we are going 4 ways to a flop. The flop falls Jack 5 Deuce Rainbow. When it checks to me, this is a pretty blank board as far as most players' ranges go. I block many of the straight draws, and given the action, I stand to have the best hand with my aces here. I lead out for $50. The big blind snap calls.
I made a mistake. We get snapped by the blind. Alright, just me and the winner. Just me and the winner. Just me and the winner.
A gut shot's better than a nut shot, bitches. The turn is the 4 of clubs. My opponent checks, and I'm feeling very happy about this turn card. I've just made the wheel, so if my opponent had a pair of jacks with some kickers he was trying to hit, he's drawing dead, or maybe he had 2 pair already, or perhaps even a set, I'm in pretty great shape against him with 1 card to come. I want to induce him to make a mistake, so I do the old same bet routine, betting just 50 from the last street, hoping he trips up. He doesn't disappoint.
Don't do it. I have cats to feed. No.
200 more. 200 more. 200 BG. Because I know a lot of people in that like do it for a living, so I have someone that I'm kind of out. You said the right thing.
Yeah, I guess. All right. I'm all in. Once or twice, sir?
I think it's twice. I have a nice trade right now.
You have a straight too?
3-6.
Oh, come on. I can't win. I can't win.
Oh, you can't.
That's so gross.
Yeah, we can't win. Yeah, we can't win right. Just one time because he can't win. He had a shot at it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow. I thought the 4 was a great card for me.
Me too.
Let's see who's really under that mask. Playing 1-2-5 PLO, under the gun has raised to 15. On the button, I look down at King 9, 9-8, double suited in hearts and spades.
It's on me already? Bunch of nits? All right, I call on the button. The blinds call. All right, thank you guys for not leaving me alone with them. Can't beat all of us.
Watch me whip, watch me nay-nay, bitches. It's always nice to flop the fucking world, which is what we do. It checks to me, and I don't want to scare anyone off, so I check it back. The turn falling the 10 of clubs. Now the small blind bets 50. The big blind calls. The original raiser folds, and I just call here. The river falls the jack of spades. The small blind continues firing, betting 100. The big blind folds, and I rip my last 255 into the middle. He thinks a short bit before folding. And now a word from our sponsor. KFG Poker Club, with massive bad beat payouts, poker tournaments with 4, 5, and 6-figure guarantees, and tons of cash games from 10 and 20 cents up to $5, $10. Everything from Hold'em to 4, 5, and 6 card Omaha, high and high-low. Follow the instructions on screen to join today. Playing 1-1 PLO, I'm under the gun. I've limped in holding ace-queen. 9-7 double suited in clubs and spades. There's a stupid min raise behind me to $2. The button makes it 5. Both blinds call, I call, the lady behind me calls 5, and we're going 5 ways for $5 each. The flop comes down 10-9-7 all diamonds, and it's checked around. The turn is the jack, but also of diamonds. We all check to the original raiser, who bets 10. The button calls, and I hate my play here, which is to call 10. I'm drawing to the bottom full house, and a straight on a board where a flush is already made. Maybe it was a cheap price that lured me in. It's always hard to resist a bargain. The river comes the 5 of hearts. The original raiser pots it for 55, and I let it go.
Oh, she shows the nuts.
Oh.
She stole $10 from me.
Nice.
Couldn't get the board to pair.
Playing 1-2-5 PLO, I've limped under the gun holding Jack 10-9-8 Rainbow. 2 players have called, and now the cutoff raises to 30.
Button calls.
I got a feeling I'm going to win again.
Small blind calls. Big blind calls. We're in there. I got a feeling you're going to win again, too. I'm in there.
Get me a deuce.
Oh, no. Max coming out of left
What's
field.
wrong with you, man? What the hell wrong, man? Man, we having fun right here and you do this?
Why you playing like me, man?
Man.
Just call.
He repots it
Damn.
for 195. He's all in. Wow, the original raiser calls.
Again?
The button cold calls.
195.
Ay-ya.
I thought I got lucky for $30.
Wow, I got no suits. Let's see. Let's see if we made a good lay down here. There's a lot of action going on.
Hoping it's been couple up here. I got you, Max. I got you.
You guys got the winner out. That's me. Now we got 8 of diamonds, 6 of clubs, 2 of spades. We got a shove by the big blind here. Original raiser folds. The button's pondering. He really wants to call him. He's got that pissed off look on his face. Like, what are you doing?
Oh.
He's gonna lay it down.
Twice again.
They're going twice.
Don't have a pair yet.
Oh my god, that was me. Son of a bitch.
Diamond.
Ah.
Two pair? Two pair, two pair.
I had the.
Fine.
I had Jack 10-9-8. No suits. It was me. No.
I'm playing an 8-handed double board bomb pot, and in the cutoff, I'm dealt a premium 9-6-6-3 with no suits.
Poker Jeezy in the heezy, keeping it sleazy.
The boards come out 6-5-5 with 2 spades and ace-7-4 with 2 hearts. It checks to me, and I bet the pot of 120. Unless I'm running into quads, I've got the top board 1, but the bottom board I don't have much. I need one of the 2 remaining 5s in the deck to make my straight there. I don't mind just scooping the whole thing now instead of having to share. I could slow play and hope to make more money later in the hand by having others inflate the half of the pot I expect to win, but it also carries the risk that I let someone outdraw me on the top board as well. The button snap calls and we are heads up to the turns. The turns fall the 9 of clubs and the queen of hearts. I rip my last $275 into the middle. He calls, and the rivers fall the jack of diamonds and the ace of clubs. He turns over king 8-7-5 suited in diamonds. She was drawing to 1 out on the top board, but unfortunately his lonely pair of 7s on the bottom board beats my pair of 6s.
He's got a 7 on the other board for half.
I like your chances on top.
Yeah.
7.
Yeah, I can't beat the 7s.
Didn't you hit something, a 9 or something?
I was trying. I hit it on the wrong board.
120.
Yeah, it did.
Here's 120.
Pleasure doing business with you, sir. Nobody got hurt.
I was like, I hope he doesn't have pocket six.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Playing 1-1 PLO 7-handed, it's a double board bomb pot for $5 each. On the button I look down at queen 7-6 suited in clubs to my queen. The flops come out jack 9-9 rainbow and queen 6-5 rainbow. It checks to me, I bet $20 and I get 1 caller.
Go easy on me. I have 3 cats to feed.
The turn falls the 9 of diamonds and then the ace of clubs. We've made a full house up top, unless our opponent has the case 9, and on the bottom we still have our set of queens plus a redraw to the second flush. He checks and I check back. My concern here is that, given my hand and the board texture, it's most likely my opponent is strong on the board with the 3 9s, rather than the board I hit. So I could be in a spot where he's free rolling me. The rivers are the 3 of diamonds and the 7 of spades. He bets 50, I call, and he immediately announces nut nut.
Nut.
There you go.
Yeah, are you sure?
8, 9, double nuts.
Oh my god. That's so gross.
That's a lot of 9s.
I had the set of queens.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I turned a full house, but if he's got a 9. Yeah.
On it, you tank and think about the cats and fold.
Yeah. Dealer no good.
There's 3 limpers, and in the big blind I looked down at ace 10, 8, 7 with 3 diamonds. We head to the flop 4-handed.
I work in mysterious ways, bitches.
The flop falls 8, 8 deuce with 2 spades, giving me top trips with the nut kicker. I check, there's a bet of 15, the button calls, and I drop that motherfucking hammer on these guys who are obviously chasing the flush draw, announcing pot, which is 80. The original better calls quickly. The button thinks for a while before shoving all in. I'm all in for 200, and both of my opponents are in there as well.
Twice? Twice? You good for twice? I've got an 8. All right, we're all in. We're running it twice. Do I need to get there or am I ahead?
You guys said twice?
Yeah, twice. Queen, the spade comes in, of course.
You 2 first or the side?
Oh, them 2 first. All right, he's good. Deuce, 5, 6.
Full house. That 2's full.
Let's get deuce is full.
You 2 are going to chop the side.
And I made oh, you got the same one? We get quartered. That's so gross. We get quartered.
The $10 straddle is on, there's 1 caller, and in the hijack I call holding 10, 10, 8, 8 suited in spades. The cutoff, button, and small blind call. The big blind folds. The straddler checks his option. We're going 6 ways to a flop.
Yes, slay, queen.
The flop falls ace, king, 8, rainbow. It checks to me, and most players in this field are going to be raising preflop if they have aces or kings in their hands, so while bottom set can be a big money burner in PLO, I expect at the moment I'm ahead. Obviously, there are many bad turn cards that can roll off, bringing in straights, potential flush draws, or giving someone top 2 pair a full house. I bet the pot of 65. The player on my left shoves for 130. Everyone else folds. I'm in there, and he only wants to run it once. The runouts come pretty safe, following the deuce of spades and the 3 of diamonds.
A set of 8s. Again. Thank you, sir. Chop that up. Oh, actually, no, you got some 1s there too. So, thank you.
Hey guys, it's Anthony. Thank you guys for watching. I do have some bonus footage for you now. A viewer of the vlog named George is actually a coach. He coaches bomb pot strategy with PLO Mastermind. He reached out, wanted to do a little collaboration with me, review some bomb pots I've played in the past, and share his insight, show, some mistakes I made as well as, good decisions. And I figured it'd be interesting for the viewers to get an expert's insight into some previous hands I played. So that's coming up right now. All right. Hey guys, it's Anthony here. I've got George from PLO Mastermind. He teaches bomb pot. He coaches for bomb pots. And so he's going to be reviewing some hands with me that I've played, pointing out what I did right, what I did wrong. I figured the viewers would appreciate an expert opinion. And George, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background in Pot Limit Omaha and bomb pots?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, Anthony. I really like your vlog. It's great. It's, of course, really entertaining. I think that's why most people love it. And also, thanks for calling me an expert. I think I did a lot of work, a lot of research in the topic of double board bomb pots. I think it's really interesting, really complex. But I'm still learning every day, and I'm just hoping for an interesting discussion here. I started working on the course in 2023.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Actually wrote a book first about it, like 50, 60 pages, to really wrap my head around the topic. And by now, the course features like 8.5 hours of content. It's 32 videos. And there's more coming because, the deeper you dive into the topic, the more questions come up. Let's look at the first hand. I suggest we just play the video and then stop at the key junctions and talk about the hand. What do you say?
Okay, that sounds good. Pots, I think it's time for a big one. We're under the gun 7-handed in a $15 double board bomb pot holding ace deuce 4-5 with diamonds and nut clubs. The flops come out king 3-2 rainbow and 9-6-4 with 2 spades. We flopped a wrap draw on one board and a weak straight draw on the other. We check, one of the players bets the pot of 105. I make the call, we go heads up to...
Okay, so I'm always a bit of a nerd for asking about SPR first. Obviously, the chips are black are 100, red are 5, and the green chips are 25. So what would you say is your stack here?
Probably somewhere in the like 800, 900 range, give or take.
Okay, and we have 105 going to the flop. So your SPR is like 7 to 9 roughly.
Okay.
Okay, that's still reasonably deep. And I think I don't like this call because you actually don't have much here. So obviously you like the top board because you have a pair and you have a wrap and you also have backdoor diamonds. But on the bottom, you're really weak. Just a pair of 4s and the non-nutted gut shot to a 3, which is already out on the top board. And your wrap outs are also like wasted on the bottom board. So this is a really weak hand and you're out of position and your opponent did bet pot. So I don't like this play at all. We really have to be careful calling just a strong draw on one board. And here your draw is not even that strong. So even if you had like ace 6-5-4, so the nut wrap on the top board and better backdoor nut flush draws, or better backdoor flush draws, I still wouldn't like this call.
Sure.
Did you have any specific reason in real time for making this call?
I would say my specific reason is sometimes I play bad. Sometimes I make mistakes. For sure, yeah. We for the viewers who are going to see this, George and I discussed this a little bit beforehand, and for sure, looking back at this on the flop, obviously I'm under the gun, so I'm out of position against most of the field. Whoever is doing the betting, and I'm remembering, I'm pretty sure I know who the player was. I'm pretty sure they were like hijack, cutoff, button, something like that. And they're a pretty competent player. So, when I see someone betting the pot in a later position like that, a lot of times I feel like they're just trying to push people out and just trying to take it away, and they may not be that strong. And looking at this board texture, I got to agree with George. Obviously, I've got the wrap up top, and I've got backdoor non-nut diamonds. On bottom, I've got bottom pair, a bad straight draw, and backdoor nut clubs if I get really lucky. But I have to go runner there. And there's just so many bad cards on that bottom board that can hit where I'm getting free rolled for my stack potentially out of position. And a lot of the cards I need to hit, like you said, the 6 and the 4 that I would like to hit up top are already on the bottom board. So a lot of my outs are gone. And yeah, I agree. I do not like how I played this. I could see potentially if I'm on the button, and I have position, and maybe I can get a check back on the turn and see a free river. Maybe there's some merit in continuing, but out of position and with other players potentially to act where, I'm drawing to so many non-nutted hands. Yeah, I think this is a fold.
Yeah, I agree. So even if you have a read that this player might be taking a light stab, you still need a plan. So I like your reasoning. If you know this guy takes one stab at it, but then gives up if he meets resistance, you can make this call on the button and yeah, try to take it away on the turn. But even that would be really, very optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, I think my plan was, Poker Jesus works in mysterious ways, and I was just hoping he was watching out for me.
Okay, let's see what happens on the turn.
Sure. To the turn, the turns are the queen and 3 of diamonds. We've turned a weak flush draw to go with our wrap straight draw, and we've binked the idiot end of the straight on the other board. I check, and my opponent doesn't slow down, betting the full pot of 315. I ask to see my opponent's stack, and I opt to just make the call. I should.
Okay, so let's look at the turn cards. I think they are actually really good, if not optimal. So you improve to a flush draw to go along with your wrap on the top board, and you hit the 2 outs actually. Actually, it's the best possible card because no, it's not. If it was the 3 of clubs, that would be better, obviously, but there's no better card out there than the 3 of clubs and 3 of diamonds. Now you check, and your opponent bets pot again. And you said you made the call, but that you also considered raising. How do you feel about this in hindsight?
Yeah, I mean, I think based on what the pot is going to become now, when he bets this turn, and it's going to be a pot of over $900, and I'm going to have, $650 behind. I feel like I should just be check raising this turn, because it's unlikely that, well, I mean, he could have he could have like a 98765 or something like that, but let's say he has a set of kings or he has a set of nines or something, and he's just continuing to fire because he feels nutted. There could be a lot of bad river cards that kill my action that I might not get paid off that extra 600, 650 or whatever it is. At the same time, there's, like you said, these are like some of the best cards I could hope for. I've got now the backdoor diamonds up top. They're not great diamonds, but what are the chances my opponent has the diamonds as well? His most likely hand could be, a spade draw. And, obviously if a spade hits that river on that bottom board and I don't improve on the top board, now I'm in a tough spot, right? Because now I've got less than a pot size bet behind. I've got like 2/3 of a pot size bet and I'm out of position. And up top, I've got one pair essentially, right? If I don't complete anything up there, and then down below, my non-nut straight has now seen the flush hit as well. So that's going to be a tough spot on the river if that happens. And so I think based that because I'm heads up and I'm not fighting multi-way against multiple people where one of them could beat me on one board and one of them could beat me on the other board. In this instance, I feel like if I hit on the top board as well, then it's going to be hard for him to scoop me. It's going to be hard for him to have both boards. And so, I feel like the check raise here on the turn is the play.
Yeah, I would agree. So, commenting on what you said, definitely multi-way. This is a trash hand. I mean, we don't want to get this in multi-way. Would just be suicide. Even heads up, I think there is some scenarios where we could be in really bad shape, but it's poker. We cannot just play the double nuts.
Right.
And yeah, we do. I think you described this opponent as being capable of firing again on the turn on these relatively, I mean, of course, the 3 on the bottom brings in a straight, but let's say a 10 or a 5 or a spade would be way more dynamic, changing the dynamic a lot. So he could just be firing again.
Sure.
Thinking that on these cards you didn't improve a lot.
Well, that's one of the things too. Like I think my opponent is going to, based on my previous history with him, he's going to view me as a tighter, reasonable opponent, and so he's probably not going to think that 3 is going to improve my hand on that bottom board.
Yeah. So then the check raise is definitely a good idea, and also. All of your outs here are non-nutted, actually. You don't have any nut outs.
And that means going to the river, you probably have a tough time playing it out of position. So the chances of you making a mistake are probably higher than him making a mistake,
Sure.
not considering any skill differences, obviously, but just because of the situation. So that makes me, tend to just check shove
No,
this
wait a
turn.
minute. I have one nutted out.
Which one is it?
You're the coach, man. You tell me.
Ah, the 6.
The 6 of hearts, my friend. The 6 of hearts.
What about 6 of spades?
Is the 6 of spades out? Oh, the 6 of spades. Yeah, the 6 of spades too. That's good. See, this is why you're the coach. I have 2 outs. That was a test. You passed.
Okay, it's 2 outs.
He's official, guys.
Good job. You paid
Yes.
attention. I was just testing you, of course.
Yes, you did. Well, I passed.
Okay. Yeah. Shall we go to the river?
Sure, let's go. Should probably just be ripping it here to deny him whatever equity he may have, since I'm committing to this hand given my turn call. This was a while ago, so I'm not sure what I was thinking in the moment. Perhaps this opponent was the type to just continue blasting, and I intended to let him hang himself on the river since I hadn't shown any strength on previous streets.
Here you are, you little bitch. Next time, bet the turn.
The rivers are the 6 of spades and the queen of clubs. I now have the nuts and the second nuts, and I don't want this to get checked back, so I rep it in for my remaining 620. My opponent makes the call for his last 570, ballooning this pot.
Yeah, I think this is perfect. I don't have anything to add to this. I see a lot of players just quickly checking this because they are just so used to, okay, I improve, but he bet the flop and the turn for pot, so let's see if he bets again.
Right.
But actually, your reasoning here is perfect. We have to bet. He's probably not folding for that size. He cannot really put you on 5-4 or a straight on each board. So I think most players are calling here, and we should just bet.
All right. Well, I'm glad that we both agreed that I played perfectly and flawlessly.
All along. Okay, let's look at our second hand. And yeah, we start by looking at the footage first and then commenting once the flop action is over.
I'm in the double board bomb pot. I'm in the big blind holding the extremely ugly Queen 4-3-2 suited in diamonds to my 4.
Big money, no whammies.
The flops come down 4-4 deuce rainbow and ace-ace-9 rainbow. I flop the nuts on the top board, but I have nothing on the bottom board, and my hand is super vulnerable to being in a spot where I can get free rolled, as I don't have a lot of ways to improve. The board can mostly only get worse for me on most turns and rivers. My best hope is 2 players have an ace, and I can sneak away with half this pot while they fight over the other half. There's a bet of 50, the small blind calls, I call, and we go 3 ways to the...
Okay, so I really like your reasoning here. So you do have the current nuts on the top board, but yeah, I can only quote what you said, and that is the board can only get worse for you, and you have nothing on the bottom board. So there is some scenarios where this can get really ugly. You did decide to check, and then someone in the field bets, and then small blind calls, and you also call. And then you said that you are hoping that they each have an ace, which of course would be the perfect scenario, because then you are basically free rolling them, or at least, no, you're not free rolling them, because unless you make the very unlikely straight flush in diamonds, you have no equity on the bottom board. But at least you can hope for a chop of a big pot 3 ways.
Right.
And that's a great scenario, obviously. And at the time, you said you hope that they each have an ace. I looked at this spot, and it's pretty interesting, because I think intuitively, a lot of people think that, okay, I have a 4, so I block the 4s. There's still 2 aces out, but only 1/4. So it's pretty likely that each of them has an ace. When in reality, if you do the math, it's actually 2 out of 3 times, one of them has a 4 and one of them has an ace, and you're actually in a weakish position because of that.
Okay.
I mean, assuming they play a 4 like they do play an ace. Obviously, an ace is better than a 4 here, because there's fewer ways to be outdrawn, and it's just better to have the higher trips, obviously. But I think on these boards, an ace and a 4 will play relatively similar. I don't see people folding a 4, or what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people are folding the 4 here. Obviously, I flopped the nuts, but yeah, the problem is like every other card that's going to come out on the board where I'm strongest could potentially destroy me, right? It could, they could have a pair of 6s in their hand, and the 6 comes out. Now I'm fucked, you know, or they could have a 4, but they could have other kickers that I don't have, not the queen, not the 3, and all of any other card that comes out that isn't a deuce or a 4 is potentially a bad card for me, except for maybe a 3 or a queen. So it's a spot where like I'm pretty much at the zenith of the power of my hand. I can't really get much of anything except backdoor wheel on the bottom board, which is very unlikely, and even then it could be no good. So and I'm super deep stacked, right? So like this is one of those spots where like if I'm shorter stacked, I guess the decision point is a lot easier. When you're deeper stacked and out of position against the guy who's betting, and you've got a third player in there, it gets a lot scarier.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I mean, obviously, you do have a full house, so just folding now for $50 would be way too tight. So let's call and see what happens on the turn.
The turns, which fall the 9 and jack of spades. We both check to the original bettor, who now leads for 225. The small blind insta calls. Given both boards have a 9 on them, I'm not overly concerned that I'm beat on my full house board. I make the call as well.
Yeah, here again, nothing to complain about. It's perfect reasoning. The 9 obviously is one of the good cards on the top board. It's maybe one of the best, except for a 3 or a queen. I like your reasoning. I still think some players would now, I don't know, check raise all in here because they figure that they are so strong on the top board. And that's obviously not the case. So I really like your evaluation of the situation here. We still have to call. We don't like the spot, but I mean, there's many spots in poker where we don't like it, but we still have to call.
Yeah, that's reasonable. I mean, the 9 obviously helps. There's only one combination of 9 left. And, like you said, if I check raise, like I'm essentially playing for half the pot here. Like I have nothing on the other board. And so, I can still get into a spot where someone with, ace 10-10 jack calls, and now he's free rolling me, and a 10 hits on that top board. Now, I get stacked. So
right.
It's
and also, I mean, you want to chop a 3-way pot. So check raising now and potentially getting it heads up doesn't help you at all.
Right. Yeah. I want 2 guys with an ace in their hands fighting over their half of the pot while they're boosting my half of the pot.
At this time, at this point, even if someone has a 4 and they don't have 4 deuce or 4-9, you probably want their money into, because it's only one card to come. A queen or 3 doesn't hurt you.
Yep.
So
unless
you probably
I get quartered.
Yeah, I mean, they could
it can
have the same figure, right, and improve to the same boat. But
Sure,
other
sure.
than that, probably just trips are, yeah, it's better if they call too. So you don't want to check raise here.
Fall the 8 of spades and another 9, the 9 of clubs.
But
965.
did you check? He didn't check yet.
We haven't activated. On in the dark.
He's got to leave that in there, I guess.
Damn.
Well, if we check, if action doesn't change.
Come here.
So he's all in.
It's so interesting how these players think, or maybe they don't. Yeah, but how they act. So the in position guy, he announced all in before it was his turn.
Yep.
And now the small blind player actually decides to bet his remaining, I don't know what he had, like
300 and something, maybe
300,
330.
bet it anyways.
Yeah.
Which actually puts you in a tricky situation, or it would be a tricky situation if the guy in position had like 2K or more behind. Because obviously you don't want this pot to get too big, because there's 4-9, there's the one combination of pocket 9s. No, there's not, but there's one 4, there's 4-9 left, there's 4-8 that someone could accidentally improve to. So you don't want this pot to be super large. Yeah, but anyways, it doesn't make much sense for him to bet his remaining 300. And for the guy in position, I mean, you're calling now, which is totally fine. The guy in position rips his remaining like 900.
I think it's
And
something
if you
like that.
see the reveal, they both have an ace, but not a full house. And I think they don't even have like a king kicker.
Yeah, they neither one of them had a full house, and I mean when that first guy bets, like if he checks and I check, the other guy's forced to bet, his pot size bet, the 965, and then this other guy can just get his 300 in. So I don't know why he's betting either. Like he's potentially killing his own action, if he feels strong enough. But yeah, neither one of them had a full house. They just both had an ace, and in that spot, like given the guy who's been betting, bet the flop, bet the turn, I don't really think he's strong on the board that I'm strong on. And so I expect that I'm chopping against him. So really in this spot, the only player I'm worried about potentially having me beat on the board I'm strong on is the guy in the blinds who's ripping it now, if
Yeah.
he showed up with 4-8. But even then, like he's only got 300 or, something like that. So it's not the end of the world. Like I'm expecting to at least chop the other part, the side pot with the other guy. So I'm really not worried so much on this river anymore, especially when the third 9 comes in, because I'm only beat by 4-8, so, or 8-8, I guess, which is unlikely.
Yeah. So I think recapping this hand, we can say that you played it really well. You have a hand that can or has to call down, especially given the run out. It's just too good to fold it at some point. At the same time, we don't want to get overexcited. Raising is definitely a mistake. And really, if you see what these guys show up with here, now you are even more sure that you cannot really fold this hand. You just have to call down because they're making so many mistakes.
Yep.
But if I had like a good 4, which is not a full house here, like a 4 and then some middling overcards, probably we cannot call here, at least not on the turn. Maybe, if it's just 50 on the flop. I don't recall if that was a half pot size bet. We probably can call, but really just trips and overcards here. And I mean, all the cards are overcards because the last card on the top board is a deuce. It's not a hand I want to continue here because there's just so many ugly situations we get ourselves into. Okay, the last hand for today.
Playing a double board bomb pot in the hijack, I am dealt ace king, 8-5 suited in clubs to my king. The boards come ace jack 4 with 2 clubs and king 3-3 with 2 hearts. It's check with the button who bets the full pot. There's one caller, I make the call, and we are going 3 ways.
Okay, so here you have top pair on the top board and a nut flush draw. And you have a king on the bottom board, which obviously features 2 3s, so someone could easily have trips. You check to the button bets pot, and one player calls. And you also decide to call. And I don't agree with this play, because if it goes multi-way, it's practically impossible that your king on the bottom board is good. Someone will have trips, at least, on the bottom board. And that means you're essentially just holding a nut flush draw on the top board. Because a 5 is not going to improve you much, and an 8 isn't going to improve you either. And even a king, there's only 2 kings out. You don't like the king of diamonds. And even on your king of spades, someone could have queen 10 or could have pocket 4s or jacks. So it's not a guaranteed nut out. So you're hoping to hit the remaining 8 clubs, which do not pair the board. And you're just not getting the correct odds to draw for this price, because button bet full pot. And even though there is a caller in between, you shouldn't forget that you're just drawing for half the pot. And that means you are overpaying a lot here. What I would say about this hand is it's actually a perfect bluff candidate. And I know that in general, bluffing in double board is not a big thing. But I think we can look into the future a little bit, or at least imagine what the good bluff candidates would be. And here you actually have a great opportunity because your hand has great properties to bluff or bet, but it's not good for a call for the reasons I just mentioned.
Yeah,
So
especially with my stack size here, it's a good spot because I could, given my image in these games where people see me as tight and pretty nutted, I can represent the king's full here. Although if I had king's full, am I really raising though?
yeah, that's a good point, certainly. But I don't know if players think that much about these spots.
Yeah, they're like,
in
I
this
have
way.
3, I must call.
Right, but also, I mean, if they are scared, I don't know if they would think along these lines of, okay, if this guy had pocket kings, why would he raise? Wouldn't he just call and try to get other people in, which would be a reasonable line. But if people just have a 3 here, which is my argument, you block a king on the bottom board, so it makes it less likely that someone has pocket kings first,
king 3.
because there's only one combination of kings out there, and
Sure.
then you also make it less likely that someone has king 3. And you also block the top board a lot because you have the primary draw, and you also have an ace, making top set of aces less likely. So what we actually see a lot, especially if the button bets, let's say the button has a weak trips hand, and there's lots of these on this specific board texture, because if you don't have ace 3 and 2 aces are already out, and you don't have king 3, you actually have a really weak hand. So if you have a 3 and then a bunch of cards between 3 and king, you are actually pretty weak because someone could already have you drawing dead on that board.
Sure.
So what I see a lot is button holds weak trips, sees everyone checking to him, decides to bet. Now you check raise pot, and he realizes, hopefully, that his hand is not all that strong, and maybe he doesn't have any equity on the top board or just weak equity on the top board. Maybe he had like jack 3 and thought, well, I have some connection
Sure.
to each board, and then decides to give it up and fold. Do you think that play would be realistic?
Yeah, I mean, against certain player types for sure, especially with my image. I think that I see what you're saying. You can blow someone off a week 3 and essentially scoop the entire pot instead of having to fight for a chop where I'm still drawing. And even if I get called, I'm probably still ahead on the top board if they're strong on the bottom board. So I'm not, I'm not in terrible shape most of the time. It's going to be hard for them to beat me on both boards usually.
Yeah. And
I think
also
what my thought process might have been here was that I was so focused on, well, I'm drawing to the nuts up top, and when I'm drawing to the nuts, I want as many people in as possible so that they contribute to that half of the pot I'm trying to win, But given that I'm not super deep stacked, I've got an opportunity here to bluff and, give myself 2 ways to win. Either I push them off a week 3 and just scoop the whole thing, or, we get it in, but I get there,
Yeah. And also, people should, at least in theory, not bet all of their ace-ace combos. I mean, the ace of hearts is out there, so it's not that unlikely that someone actually has aces plus a flush draw on the bottom, and you're not getting. I mean, this hand will probably bet a lot. But let's say you're on the small blind here, and you have aces, but not a flush draw on the bottom, so you basically have no big equity except for your overpair on the bottom board.
Mm-hmm.
It's not such a great spot to bet out from the small blind because you have 7 people behind you and you have a very dynamic top board and a static bottom board.
Yeah.
So that's usually not a good plan. So if people do bet, I think they have the bottom board more often than the top board. Here it's the button betting, so they will probably bet all of their aces. But it's also a thing to consider that really the hand that you are most behind against is pocket aces, Whereas you don't even, I mean, even if someone has kings on the bottom board, you're still in pretty good shape because they're not that likely to be better than you on the top board. Okay, so you did decide to call.
The turn. The turns fall the queen and 9 of hearts. It's checked around.
Here you go, homie.
The rivers come the 8 and 6 of clubs. The player first to act bets the full pot of 360. I shove my remaining 585 in the middle.
Okay, nothing to say about the turn. Obviously, you just check. And on the river, you make the nut flush. And the out of position player, so this was the person who just check called the flop, decides to bet the pot. And you decided to raise. I think you said you had like 500 and change.
I think like 565, maybe something like that.
Okay, so it's just a smallish raise, and I don't want to be nitpicking too much, but you shouldn't raise here because even though this is just, an extra 200, it makes it a little less likely that the button calls.
Okay.
And that's why, and obviously you want the button to call because you're not going to beat the first to act player on the bottom board, and he's not going to fold either. So there's really not much reason for making this shove. You want to chop a multi-way pot, and that's why you should try and keep the button player in.
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess in the moment, my thought process might have been like, well, it's, my raise isn't that much more that if the button was willing to call the 360 bet, he's probably going to call my raise as well. And in the moment, I mean, I don't remember who the opponent was who did the initial bet. Maybe I'm thinking that because I swear to God, I've seen people chase, straights on boards that are paired and have flush draws or made flushes, like gut shot straights. Like it's insane. So I might have even been thinking that, maybe if someone, if the button has, trips, but he's afraid of the flush or he's not full, and the other guy's betting the queen high flush on the board, I'm strong. Maybe I've got an opportunity to push the button out and scoop. Like I don't remember in this specific hand exactly what my thought process was, but that's just some of the potential ideas. But I definitely see what you're saying, Larry. I want the other person in because I'm not folding out the guy who's probably got a 3 on the other board. So.
Mm-hmm. And the first guy still had chips left? The out of position
the
player?
Still, no, the first guy I think was all in. I think he was. I'm not sure. If we play it out, maybe it'll show.
Yeah, let's see.
The button folds and the other player calls. He does call. Okay, all right.
Well, I have.
Okay, yeah, he does call. So then I actually like your reasoning saying that. So if the button wants to continue, you get some extra money in that you can chop up. So that makes perfect sense. So yeah, I think it's minor issues, but it's important to at least understand why you are doing things and what you want to achieve. So I think
why am I making this bet? Sometimes you just get excited that you made your hand and you just shovel it in,
Yeah. So here, given the stack sizes and situation, it's probably a wash, and there's arguments for both actions. But again, I still think it's important to point out the reasoning.
All right, George. Well, I'm glad that you were able to come out today and let my viewers know that I play perfectly 100% of the time and I don't make any errors, as evidenced by the footage that I will carefully edit before I release it.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what you can make out of that. If you can twist it around so that you always appear in the holy light. No, it was really great fun and I enjoyed it a lot. And let's see if viewers like it.
Yeah, it was good, man. I appreciate the insight and the feedback and the constructive criticism. It definitely helped me to to look back at things for sure. I really enjoy trying to, improve my game. I know I have leaks. I know I make mistakes. I definitely don't play perfect. And vlogging has been one of those things where it's helped me where, I will be reviewing footage and I'll watch a hand and I'll be like, shit, like I should be raising or folding and I'm making the worst possible decision and calling. And, hopefully my viewers appreciate that I do try to point out, I try to show hands where I lose, where I fuck up. Where I make mistakes. I try to call myself out on it. I try to be my biggest critic. So, I appreciate you taking the time to not only share, my screw ups, but also, the good decisions I made as well. So.
Yeah, and there were lots of these. And yeah, I also learned a lot today and really enjoyed it. So let's see if we can do it again in the future.
All right, that sounds great, man. Well, I appreciate you watching the channel and reaching out. And if you guys are interested, check out George. He is part of the PLO Mastermind, and he teaches bomb pot strategy. So good guy to learn from, and keep watching the channel.
Like and subscribe, bitches.